Hello and welcome to this edition of Exotic Gardening UK, Yorkshire Kris Weekly, and in this episode we'll be looking at every species of Trachycarpus palm that are planted out in my garden. So if you're a regular viewer of these videos, you'll know that 6 years ago I planted out every species of Trachycarpus that are available, mainly along the fence line behind me, so I can compare their growth over the years. They were all planted out at roughly the same sort of size, and this is their 6th season growing out. So planted in 2015, in June 2015. So this is 2020, so it's 5 years, but they've had 6 growing seasons, as this is now very late in the year, so the back end of November 2020, and the light's fading obviously because it's the nights are drawing in now. But just want to show you all the species, and then we can look at the growth and look at the differences between the palms and the fact that some are hardier than others. So hopefully you enjoy this video. Trachycarpus nanus, really nice deep green leaves and quite distinctive leaves compared to the other Trachycarpus, but it's extremely slow growing, and it has pushed out a couple of leaves this year. I think it's obviously got the newest leaf here and this leaf, so I think it's on 2.5, but it has been shaded out by, to my left here there's some cannas, so it's had a bit of more shade than in previous years. So it's extremely small. Let's put my foot by the side of it. You can see, what's that? It's only about 30-40 centimetres across, and it's no more than 20 centimetres tall, because it's got an underground trunk as a true nanus rather than the hybrid, and it really keeps most of its trunk and growth underground and only producing over time a short trunk. And this was a one-leaf seedling, I want to say 10 years ago, and this had 6 growing seasons planting out now, so that's as big as it's got. Let's move on to the next one. Here we have the Trachycarpus latisectus. Again, very different shaped leaves, more fused and a lighter green colour, and to the touch they are much thinner, really thin compared to the nanus and the fortunei that most people are aware of. And then if we look down at the centre, see a bit of fluff down here, like white fluff on the tomentum. This is tomentum on the petioles, the leaf stalks. And if we look down at the trunk, got loads of conifer clippings over it. Just move them out of the way. We can see we've got a nice decent trunk forming now, and let's press that, it's pretty stable in the ground, and it's produced again about 2 or 3 leaves this season, and it's proved hard enough so far. So that is the latisectus, which height wise it's coming up about 60-70 centimetres now, so again it's pretty slow growing in this location, but compared to the nanus it's a monster. Now we move on to the regular fortunei. I say it's a regular fortunei, but it has got a bit of glaucus under the leaves, which is quite nice. Thicker leaves than the latisectus, and it's if we just look back, it's a similar sort of size, 60-70 centimetres tall. So it's about as, the latisectus has grown about as quick as the fortunei of the last 6 growing seasons. Next we have the geminisectus, which is extremely distinctive, probably the most distinctive Trachycarpus in a lot of ways, because the leaflets are fused in 2s and 3s, and they're really thick. These are really thick leaves, like plastic really, and they got a whitish sheen to the underneath of these, and it's extremely slow growing. So again, this is actually bigger than the nanus, but it started off a bit bigger than the nanus when it was planted 6 years ago, and it's pushed out I think 1 leaf, maybe 2 leaves this year, which is quite a good year for the geminisectus, because it's very slow growing, And again, this one's what, 30 centimetres tall at the absolute most, more like 15-20 centimetres tall, and it's about 40 centimetres wide, something like that. And you can see the trunk down there, just like the others really. It's very small, it's not really forming a true trunk yet, so we'll see how that gets on, but it is getting dwarfed by the other plants and palms around it. And then we move on to the Trachycarpus princeps, a true princeps, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous palm. Again, this was a tiny plant when it was planted out 6 years ago, so it's bulked up pretty well. Again, it's a slow growing palm, absolutely gorgeous leaves that are bluish white even on the edges of the surface of the top side, and if we look underneath, they are pure whitish blue underneath, especially on the newest leaves. And that's got a fair little trunk now, so that's about good 15-20 centimetres tall, so that's grown really well. Nice sturdy little palm tree. Next we have the Nannytal, which is not a true species, we don't believe. It's basically like a mega growing fortunei, grows a bit quicker, a bit stockier. Again, got this glaucousness underneath from the newest leaves, and this had 6 growing seasons now, and it's grown to about 1 metre 20, 1 metre 40 high on the tallest part of that leaf there, and it's got a fair size trunk. If we just go down, quite hard to see, it's got a trunk down there as well, about 40 centimetres, well sorry, it's about 30 centimetres tall, nice woven fibres on the side of it as well. So that is the Nannytal. Next, I'm standing way back from these two palms that are jostling for the space. On the right we have the Trachycarpus princeps hybrid that you can see is easily gone over the 1 metre 80 fence line now, and that's grown really quick. And to the left, one that's very similar to the princeps hybrid, originally bought as takil, originally bought as ukhrulensis, now I believe it's a Nannytal, but that's grown really quick, really stocky plants. And if you remember, all these plants down here, and I've got plants in the way so you can't see them, but they're all along this fence line. They're all planted at roughly the same sort of size 6 years ago, but these two are way ahead of any of the other ones. And you can see the bluish colour on the newest leaves of the princeps hybrid, although it's nowhere near as strong now as a true princeps, and doesn't have the bluish colour on the upper side of the leaves like the true princeps does. But it's such a fast growing palm, it's probably the best Trachycarpus, easiest growing Trachycarpus. And hardiness for all these have not been truly tested yet, because I've only seen at the lowest, I think it dipped to minus 5.5 a couple of winters ago, so they've not had mega cold temperatures since planting out. But these two are really happy, nice green leaves, really stocky. I'll just move in and show you the trunk of the princeps hybrid now. So this is the trunk of the princeps hybrid, absolutely loads of ginger fluff, tomentonum on this one, and the trunk is proper stocky now, really thick. It's easily 30 centimetres or more across, and there's about just shy of 1 metre of trunk there. So that is grown into a really stocky, stout palm very quickly, and it's solid in the ground. And it's absolutely gorgeous looking, actually. Really like this palm. So that's the princeps hybrid, and to the left the unknown, probably the Nannytal, which we've got here as well. Next we've got the true takil, Trachycarpus takil, again bought as a strap leaf seedling, planted out with the others exactly the same day 6 years ago. And this has got really dark green leaves, really long thin leaflets, and very long petioles as well. And it's only got a tiny trunk still down there. It's got a lot of growing to do, but it's a nice looking palm. I think when it matures it'll look very different to this, but at the moment it's about 50 centimetres tall, nice big leaves, but I think that will change with age bit of glaucousness underneath as well, and it's quite distinctive to the others. Next we've got the Trachycarpus martianus Nepal form. So I think that needs a bit more acidic conditions, because it has got very light apple green leaves. I think that's a characteristic of this palm, but I think there's a little bit of early yellowing going on, so I think it needs a bit more acidic soil. And again, like the latisectus, very thin leaves and easily damaged by frost. This one's by far the tenderest. Lovely white fluff on the side of the leaf stalks there, and actually at the top of the crown as well. Look in there, beautiful trunk forming. If you watch my weekly videos, you'll know that it was very unstable, this palm, early in the year, so I put loads of soil around the side just to help stabilise that, and hopefully it'll root better from the side of the base of the trunk. So it was a bit wobbly, it still is. That's a beautiful looking, really exotic looking trunk on that one. So if we can keep that alive, because this year it doesn't have the protection of the greenhouse, which is where I am filming this from. There used to be a greenhouse and that's gone now, so it doesn't have that latent heat, so I might need to protect this when it gets to -2, -3. And then finally on this stretch we've got the Trachycarpus fortunei wagnerianus. Deep green leaves, very stiff, really windproof leaves, and it's what we expect from this cultivar. It's a nice shaggy trunk. Look at all those hairs and everything on there, really shaggy trunk. And that is now approaching about 1m40, 1m50 after 6 years, so that's done okay. And if we look back down the fence line, we can see some of the others down there for comparison in size. Now let's look at the ones that aren't on the fence line. Here in the centre of the frame, surrounded by the tree ferns, is the Trachycarpus Nova. Again, not a true species as such, but a distinct form. And this has got really long petioles. It's standing now at, well, just over 2 meters tall, so a fast grower. And it's very protected in this location at the moment. But when it gets a bit higher up there, it'll get the full brunt of the wind, so the leaves might not look as good as they look now. Nice drooping leaflets, and it's still quite a small trunk. If I look down there, you can see it's covered in all sorts, but there is a trunk under there, and that's grown pretty well this year. That's the Trachycarpus Nova. At first sight it just looks like a fortunei, apart from it's a bit more stretched really. Here we have the Trachycarpus ukhrulensis, also known as manipur, and this has beautiful, lots of leaflets on each leaf, very large leaves, and bluish undersides, bluish silver undersides that you can see here. This I transplanted in midsummer from when it was near the big jubea palm. Planted it in this bed with a few annuals around it, as you can see. Filmed this in very late November now. And this is doing well. It stands at about 1m20 tall, and if we just go in and have a look at the trunk, you can see that is the fluffiest trunk of any of them. Absolutely loads of tomentum here. Look at that, balls of the stuff just comes off in your hands. That's got a decent sized trunk. After creeping for many years, it's now going more or less straight up, so we'll give that a couple of years to settle in this location, and then it should hopefully go skywards. But got these wonderful, quite stiffish leaves, but very long leaves as well, and narrow leaflets. And finally we have the most sought after Trachycarpus palm as far as I'm aware, which is Trachycarpus oreophilus, which is now standing at way over 2 meters, about 2m50 tall, with a nice solid trunk that's about 1m20, 1m30, something like that. All the leaves going straight up pretty much. And if we look in, a very tapered trunk, so it's pretty wide at the base, And then as we go up, we can see it narrows a lot, and this tightly woven fibre on the trunk here. Got some tomentum, but not loads. And then these wonderful apple green leaves. And if I just get through to the centre, see the newest leaves, look at that, they're all fused at the base. The leaflets then fall out at the top. And this is grown superbly this year. Look at that leaf there. Absolutely fantastic. Most beautiful Trachycarpus, I believe, at this stage. And I think I'll just leave this video just looking at this wonderful leaf. So thank you for watching this edition of Exotic Ghana UK 6-year planting out of the Trachycarpus family. If you like this video, please subscribe so you can see all the latest videos and the yearly updates using the link on the screen.